Hello there. What's
Hello.
going on? Oh, I love the yellow.
Yeah.
Um, it's very summer vibes.
Mhm. It's
Yeah,
giving out on the beach.
exactly. Well, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you. I love your energy. When we used to do the collective,
Yeah.
um, yeah, your energy just like radiates a lot of like warmth and positivity and everything. Um, so that, yeah, that stayed with me over the years, and I was like, oh man, maybe Millie will chat with me. Yap with me. Sorry, yap. So yeah, thanks for coming today. So welcome. So Millie is a senior business intelligence analyst. Am I getting that
Yeah.
correctly?
All the words.
In tech, like a tech
hmm
company. So I guess for folks who don't know what that means, like what exactly does that mean? Like what do you do?
Yeah. So I would say, in a sense, in regards to like analytics in a company, you're kind of like that generalist. You're there to like take the data that the company has internally and analyze it and help the different departments, divisions, or what have you make better like data informed decisions so that we can, achieve the mission of the company overall.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so when you talk about different kinds of data, are you talking about quantitative data, qualitative data, every kind of data?
Yeah, I think all of the data, it all depends. Mostly quant, but there are some qualitative options. But yeah, it's anything from like your marketing data or transactions, or any surveys that are being given out to customers for like feedback. That has like, a mix of both. So yeah, it's everything and all of the above.
Oh, okay, wow. So I guess like I'm just curious, like when you were a little person, like did you think did you think you would be, hey, when I grow up, I want to be a business intelligence analyst one day?
Little me was not remotely excited about the idea of sitting in an office. Little me was like, oh, I'm going to be a performer. But I quickly, understood what my talents are. So I leveled down and focused on, I guess, the core part of like community and people. And that led me to like choosing the majors that I did. And I like bounced my way into analytics.
That's awesome. Wow. So, um, I know there's folks out there like how do you break into analytics? Like and when you talk about analytics, like what does that look like in like in tech when you say, "Hey, I'm in analytics." Like what does that entail?
I think people assume that you need to have like a certain degree or background to in order to do analytics, and I don't think that that is the case, and it certainly isn't the case because I have met lots of people who've gotten into data or analytics and in tech and have like all different kinds of backgrounds, degrees, and maybe some just like a boot camp or what have you. But I say if you come in with like a curiosity and take the time to like get in the basics, then you can then spend the time being in data for sure. Yeah. So like for myself, I I focus more so on like academic research end of things. And then it wasn't until learning like a programming language that I was like exposed to all the other options that come with that, and then like made my way into tech.
Oh wow. So I know that like you were working at a university first. I don't know if you want me to say which university.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, you were
It's
you
cool. I wrapped them.
were you were working at a university and then that's where you learned R on the job. Um, so before that you have never used R before, and for those who don't know, R is like a programming software like that's used a lot in statistics and everything. So just in case people don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you've never used R before, and then when you did this job you
Mhm.
used it, and I think it's very intimidating for many people. Uh,
Mhm.
so how did you jump into that?
Yeah, I so like when I got into that role, yeah, I was working at CUNY, City University of New York, and the office was looking to transfer the way that they worked. So whereas most people were working in Stata and SPSS, which are the softwares that are often used in academia and maybe economics and nowhere else. um, we wanted to move to like an open source like programming language, and like R was the best option, and it like would allow more flexibility and ability to do the work than like an SPSS or Stata would allow you to do. So with that, I mean, at first I was a bit apprehensive because I was just like, just got this job. I just learned Stata. I had been familiar with SPSS. Like, why do you want me to learn another language? And then on top of that, SQL was something that I had to be like kind of familiar with, but maybe not entirely, which I was just like, no, I am but I had to learn R because I had to do my job, and the only way to collaborate with other people was to also learn R. So, I didn't know what it wasn't at first. I just thought it was like similar to like SPSS, which is like those like what do you call it? Uh, it's like software that you have to like pay for. There's like a whole special word
Oh,
for it, but
God, what it's
I
called, but
didn't.
it's
Right.
expensive.
Expensive, yes. I did not know or understand what open source was. And it wasn't until kind of like maybe nagging a little bit of or nagging my coworkers to like try to understand how to do things, and they were just like, you could just like look this up and see like there's like a whole community that focuses all on this. And it wasn't until I like applied for the Opportunity Scholar at for our studio then, but now Posit, where I got to really see what the open source community was like and like what it meant to be in it and what folks were doing with it, that I was just like, oh, this is what it is. This is exciting. I like this. Yeah.
That's awesome. Also because like I think a lot of times when you're learning, I know when I started learning R, it felt very isolating and intimidating.
Yeah.
And so I think that's great that you started off like being ushered into this community. Uh,
Hmm.
because you are very active. I feel like you're always attending, as you spoke at like the Posit conference, and you go to like all the R meetups. I don't even know what they're called anymore, but is it R meetups now or Posit meetups?
Oh, that's yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there's also the data science hangout that happens every Thursday that I used to go to in person regularly, but now I watch after the fact. Um, yeah, my I feel like my like days of like being on it all the time are fewer and fewer as I get busier and busier. But I do like to be still like connected to the community. So like anytime I can watch the data science hangout, which is something that Posit does every Thursday at 12 Eastern, I believe. And it's yeah, it's really cool. It's very informal, but I really like that. Or the Our Ladies like meetups from all over. Now that they have them both like in person and virtual, you could attend a lot more than you used to before. Post pandemic world. Yeah, I love that, and I also love a conference, like and especially Posit conference, because the community is so cool. Everyone's doing really interesting things. I mean, it was the whole reason why I decided to like try to do like a website, which I still have that I need to like blog more. I haven't blogged in a while. But things like
You
that.
know, Monday musings.
Oh, my Monday musings. There that has like taken over my like blog time and headspace. It's just my like once a week LinkedIn posts of just like, okay, here's what Millie thinking about this week.
No, I love it. It's like one of the things I read like on a Monday. So
I'm glad you start your week with me.
yeah, for real. I was like, oh, what's Millie thinking about? So, yeah, because I value what you have to say. I think you speaking of the conference, we did meet in person.
Yes,
Like,
we did.
yeah, yeah. Um, gosh, when was that? That was like
That was I think 2023. I think it was that one because last year I was virtual.
it's
Hmm.
either 23 or 22. It was
Hmm.
like it was like it's near DC, like by the water, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I
Okay.
should that is because
It
I
might have
did.
been 22 then. Yeah, because 23 was in Chicago. Wait,
Okay.
what did we mean? We didn't mean in Chicago?
No, I didn't go. I've only been to one. That
Oh,
one.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really cool that you're able to find all this like curate this professional development um I guess like opportunities, right? Like how do you even find them? Is it something like your job said, hey, you should go here? Or do you go out and like look for these yourself?
Yeah, it wasn't until the pandemic where I guess I had the feeling of like I've already felt like I had grown out of my position at CUNY, and I wanted to like do something different, but I didn't really know how to go about that. And I think I always operated on the like expectation or assumption that my manager or other leaders within the org are supposed to be the ones that would help me develop in my career and be able to move on to the next step. But it wasn't until doing like the collective with Tina, that I like really understood that no, it's my responsibility if I want to progress or do anything that I need to take the reins. So doing like those community sessions, and then also being connected with Letitia Bird, who's now like passed on to another person and her career chasers. Um, like being in community with other women, Black women, who want to advance in their careers, and like working together to like understand what it means to negotiate, and what how to like set goals, or even like setting goals that are connected with my core values, which is what I like learned from the collective and through other like um, one-on-one coaching is what then make me seek out on my own other communities that are just like this. So what I ended up doing was like basically joining lots of Slack communities of either like women in data, data angels, higher Black, like all the intersections of my identity. Whoever was in there out there, I like found those and kept in with the chats, and people would share the events that they would go to or any other conferences that they are doing, or even like the like free like sessions that were happening virtually. I just kind of like kept attending lots of that and taking notes, and I think that's how I've gotten to the into this like career development groove.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so like when you attend like this networking events or activities, what do you have like an agenda in mind, like coming in and saying, okay, I'm attending this event. Do you set a goal for the event? Like I want to meet like 10 people, you know?
Right.
Like, or do you just kind of like you go there and you're in the space and you just feel it out. So I'm not sure, do you have like a strategy, or you just kind of like I don't know. Like you tell me, like what's your process of networking?
Yeah. So if it's like a virtual, like on, like, yeah, like an online event, I'm just like looking to learn something technical or even just like a soft skill there. I'm just kind of taking in information. I don't necessarily fully connect unless there are opportunities within the session to like break out in small groups. But in a conference, for sure, I do like have a goal of like one to two people, like new connections to make. Because I feel like I I feel like I work better in person than I do like virtually. Like I'm able to like connect, I think, like human to human better than maybe I come across in a virtual world. So I like to connect with people that I don't know. And in those and although I'm like a little bit introverted too, somehow conferences I am a lot more social. But I'll still like I'll take the approach of just like, okay, let me see what gravitates towards me. So whether I just like start a new table at lunchtime or go to like one of those whatever side table with people talking and I, introduce myself, say hello, is the approach that I go to like make those new connections. Um, and yeah, depending on like the context of whatever it is, it's either me just taking in information that I'm either gonna like hold for myself and pass on, or looking to find a new community or a new connection. Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Especially like for introverts, like the thought of like having to, I don't know, talk with people like strangers in a
Hmm.
big conference could be intimidating. But it doesn't have to be, and I guess it's something you could practice and
Yeah,
get
because
used to.
yeah, the fun thing about conferences is, and I think what helps me like maybe break out of my shell a little bit more is that everyone that's going there is literally going there to like learn something new or connect with people that they haven't met before, and everyone's really jazzed about the topic. So like, no one's going to like feel a type of way of just like, oh, you're really like into this R package? Why?
It's like
Like you
every
don't have to worry about that because everyone's there just like equally excited for you and about it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I know you mentioned the collective a few times, and that's
Mhm.
why actually we first met, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned Taina, who was a guest on the show in the previous,
Mhm.
and um, but like I guess for folks who don't know what happened in the collective, like can you just tell folks,
Yeah.
like what the collective was about?
Yes, it was this transformational time for me. It was folks, I would say folks of color, if I remember right, women identifying or femme identifying, and we were all together reading a book, The Memo by Minta Hart, I believe. And it was all for like folks who were looking to, I would say, like a holistic way of like their own career development and their own like personal advancement. And so we, connected regularly. I forget the cadence, but yeah, it was essentially like book club slash like group therapy. But it was such a good time because it was just like a lot of like things like opened up for me of just like wanting to be aligned with what it is that I want, and not being entirely sure what that was, but having now frameworks and foundations that I didn't know before, but like got that through the collective. Yeah.
Wow,
Mhm.
that's awesome. And I was there and
Yeah.
agree with everything you said. And I'm seeing a pattern here because you're talking about, joining the collective and also joining all the community events of
Mhm.
like folks who are learning about art or just tech in general. Um, and so you seem like a very like embedded in a community type of person. Um, like when you collaborate with people in a workspace, you're in tech, um, and you're analyzing all the business data, um, how does any of this show up? When you're trying
Mhm.
to collaborate with folks and giving them this intelligence about the data.
I strive for intelligence. Whether it always comes out that way is to be determined. But yeah, I think it shows up with like my approach to maybe getting requests or just like working on the job. Because I like to take a very like human forward, human centered approach, and to do that requires lots of empathy. And and especially for a role of like a BI analyst, you're working with non-technical people. So like you have a lot of knowledge on this like one way of like looking at information and things, right? Among other things. Maybe you do have some subject expertise in marketing from past work or just like having worked in data. But you're working with folks who are really good at their job and know what it is that they're doing within their division, but maybe not entirely sure about like what data is available to help them and how to go about that. And so I think some analysts, or just yeah, some analysts and some folks may find that, and you will bump into that frustration of just like, okay, I want to help you. You're asking for this thing, but is that like really what you need, or really what you want, or do you even know how complicated it is to get that one number? Like all the tables that I have to pull together. And so I take the approach of like being as empathetic as possible to understand from their perspective, and sharing in the load of whatever the like issue is, because at the end of the day we're there to all help each other, and we're getting either a question on high or just like a question within our soul to like to then choose whether or not we're going to go with layout A or B. We should do that as a group and not be at like arms with each other. So it comes up in my like approach of the way I would handle like one-off requests or even just like ongoing like communication with folks within the org. It also just like makes things easier for me. And I also like to just like, especially with the amount of data that I work with in companies, to always still remember that there are people behind these things, because you can easily like dehumanize it all because everything kind of just becomes numbers because you're just querying data, you're putting it all together. But there are hundreds and thousands of people that are all behind that with all different kinds of lives. So I don't know whether that's like too whimsical for the world is, not my problem, but that's the way that
No, I love what you said there because that is so true. People just see like that number or um category that goes with one data point, but there are people behind this data, like the people who collected them, the people who answered these surveys, um, or store the data and protect them at all times, right? So you're absolutely correct. Um, and I think I'm hearing from you is like you do a lot of translations.
Mhm.
Because you mentioned like, okay, a lot of the folks you work with actually non-technical, and you have to do this translation of these super technical things in a way that makes sense to them, but also in a way that is actionable for them. And that's you have to be whimsical to be able to do that, right?
I think so. I support
Yeah.
it.
You have to, like figure that out. That's not like a skill that is natural to many people, I would say. And so actually like this makes me think about, okay, so I know there's a lot of like job seekers out there right now, right? Because of the economy. We're not gonna go into that today. Um, not stating the obvious here, but um, like, what is the difference between like a data analyst and like a business intelligence analyst? Like, is there really a difference between those two?
Oh, that's a I feel like that's a spicy question these days. Because, I mean, a company to company, the definitions of these roles change so much. And I think the lines of that used to be very clear have like blurred to like things that analysts are doing now, engineers were doing, not that long ago, but now you'll see it in an analyst role. So I, to that particular question, no, I feel like they're pretty similar, if not the same. But I do still think there are like the divisions of just like data engineer building pipelines, taking raw data sources and building connections to a database. And the data analyst is mostly like querying. Oh, like let's so like data engineer, analytics engineer is taking that data, then shaping it into a way that makes it a little bit more readable for human eyes and makes it scalable because you're dealing with lots of data. So they're doing all data models and whatnot. Those analysts usually are then querying those data models that are nicely needed, like formatted in a way that's accessible to then do more analyses, and they're working with stakeholders. But then you have data scientists who are working on longer term projects. So whereas like an analyst might be doing more like short term in the moment kind of questions, the data scientists are taking that same data that maybe the analyst engineers have already modeled and put together, and then they're transforming it in whatever way they need to do it to do like a longer term like forecasting or any sort of like predictive analytics to answer those bigger questions for bigger things to do. So depending on your vibe and the company, you can be stepping in all these kinds of things. Where I like to be is somewhere in between like the analyst engineer and like the data analyst role, with sometimes, an occasional data science, because I do like a good like heavy project, but that hasn't been my day to day in a while. Yeah.
Wow, thanks for breaking that down.
Hmm.
I guess it's kind of like folks can think about like the data science life cycle, if that makes sense,
Hmm.
and see like where these roles are in that whole life cycle. But also while you were talking, it made me think about all these multi-step things that you do.
Hmm.
And I know you like to dance.
Yeah.
um, and so I don't know, like, do you think like, there's kind of like you doing steps that you have to do to analyze data is kind of like similar to when you're learning how to do a dance routine in a way?
Yeah, well, because yeah, even with dance, the same. I feel like a similar formula applies. If you want to be like a dancer that performs well, so like if you're like making very clean or sharp movements or having a good technique, you need to like go to the basics. And if you're trying to be in like performance art of any sort, you're probably gonna have to be in that ballet. And like I would say, like the ballet is like the data engineers of the world. You know, you are doing all the like traditional like movements and working all of those muscles that have been laid out for centuries of like how to do it. um and then from there, once you like know the rules, know like build the strength, how that, then you can get creative in breaking those rules. So like you don't
Mhm.
have to always be upright, you can be slanted, and that's where all the different styles of dance are. And I think that's how the different like data roles that you can have, from the analyst, analytics engineer, data scientist, and all the above. You can be in hip hop, you can be in contemporary, you can be in modern. It requires different technique bases or a language and skills. But nonetheless, you can jump in between two. It's just a matter of like you still have to go back to that foundation and understanding where data comes from or where the moves are from, and then you can go from there. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So like which dance which kinds of dance do you usually
For
uh
me, right now, it's been jazz. I like taking jazz classes and jazz dance, but my love, it will always be in modern dance. I learned Graham in college, and I'm actually like visiting my alma mater, so and watching the dance concert. But yeah, I love Graham, and I also do enjoy contemporary. But I want to get into Horton, which is another style of modern dance, which is, yeah, and also want to take that at Ailey. So we'll see. I need to like eat my vegetables. I need to go to some more ballet classes and more like Horton technique classes before I can really get there.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, no. Ailey all the way. Like I love them. That's cool you get to go because you're in New York.
Mhm.
That's like the headquarters. Yeah, wow. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I've been really enjoying our conversations. Is there anything that you wanna, I guess, share with any folks out there who or trying to figure out how to carve their own path. I kind of ask this to everybody.
Mm.
Or
Uh,
like trying to find navigating this job market, or really anything that you feel in your heart right now, you want to get it out there.
mm. I would say like to always like check what keep in touch with what it is that you want or you seek before you try to like fit yourself into something else. Just because maybe like the money is there or like you feel like, oh, well, this is the sequence of things that would make my life be successful or whatever the case may be. Check to see what like, what it is that truly like brings you joy. Will help you get the job done, but also not like deplete you, and go from that point instead of like the opposite of just like trying to like shove yourself in a space where you'll always be in like agita. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you again, and I really appreciate you. Hopefully go to New York and take an A dance class together. That would be
Yes, let's
fun.
do it.
All righty. Have a good one. Thanks.
Great. Bye.